In today's video, I'm going to show you some real tax sale properties that frankly never should have been purchased. Not every single property at a tax sale is a bargain. A lot of them are there for a reason, and a lot of them you probably shouldn't purchase. A lot of new investors are so eager to get started. They don't take the time to learn how to research properties, and they buy the wrong ones. And I've seen every type of dud you can imagine. I can usually spot them in a matter of seconds. So today, I'm going to share my screen and walk you through a few of these real life examples, pointing out the red flags, the mistakes that were made, and how you can avoid getting stuck with these properties yourself. Let's go ahead and switch on over to my screen and get started. All right, so this website is tax-sell.info, run by a company called Title Check, which handles the majority of the tax foreclosure sales in the state of Michigan. Now, I've shown this site before, and I've told you this information before, but if you've missed previous videos, Michigan has two different sales. They have a reserve sale, which starts the amount of back due taxes, interest, and fees. If the property does not sell at that, they then sell it at the no reserve auction, which will start at a nominal amount, $100, $200, $500, depending on the county. So, and also they only do this once a year. So it happens late summer, fall, and then the no reserve sale is in October, late October. All right. So we're going to go through a few of these. And first things first, if I choose a property on here and you are the buyer, I'm sorry. Nothing personal. It's just my opinion looking at what I see on the screen. With that said, I am only looking at the information I see, the stuff that pops out right away to say, hey, this is a red flag for me. I do not know the backstory. There's some properties on here that might be too small to build on. They might be landlocked, but they were purchased by a neighbor that owned the property right next door, and they're going to use that to access it, or something along those lines. There's all sorts of backstories. There's ways to make properties work. Again, I don't know that information, so I'm just going off what I see. All right, so let's look at we'll look at Kent County first and see what we have there. All right, so and then obviously too, there are a lot of fantastic deals on tax sales that you probably should be purchasing, right? So if I see something that sticks out like this property on Grand River, 160 feet for 55 grand, looks like a pretty good deal, right? But what I'm gonna be focusing on today are the properties you should not have purchased. Okay. Wow. We got a few properties here. Let's look at this one right here. 0.04 acres. That sticks out because that is very, very small. You're talking less than 1/20th of an acre. Just clicking on it, it looks like it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. And it's also wet, right on the side of a pond, right? Like, you scroll down, this this land is 20 feet by 80 feet deep. It's wetlands and a couple trees, ground dips, most likely too small to build on, and water issues might be a nightmare. So, Title Check, they go out and they do site checks and inspections and take photos and all sorts of other stuff. And the reason they do that, of course, is for the good properties, they want them to sell as much money as possible because they get a buyer's premium, a percentage of the sales price. But they do give us some notes, and these notes are generally good, but you always need to research them and make sure that they are accurate, because you have to remember they're doing this for thousands and thousands of properties, and they are not perfect. They do make mistakes. So whether it is good information or bad information, you need to research it. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to go off the pictures, the stuff that sticks out to me, and then we'll look at this for confirmation, if you will. So somebody paid $650 for this, thinking they got a great deal for a piece of real estate for $600. More than likely, this is a property that will be back on the tax sale in a few years when they realize it's not worth the $15 per year in taxes that they now owe on a worthless piece of property. All right, luckily nobody purchased this 0.06 10-foot strip. Here's 0.34 acres for 11 grand. That looks pretty good. Here's a property that it's one of those properties that at first glance looks all right. 0.39 acres for $2,300. Doesn't look bad, right? Well, let's look at it a little bit deeper, because here's kind of what I see looking at this. I see a road. It looks like a pretty good sized road. Let me see. It looks like it's a 4-lane road. Odds are you can't just put an apron right here. You have to have an exit. The DOT has to approve it. There's all sorts of stuff that goes into this. So looking at this and being that there is no access from the other direction, based on, you have a lot of pictures of the trees here. But based on what I saw on the plat map initially, you can't access it from these roads. You'd have to access it from, looks like Wolverine Boulevard or whatever that 4-lane is. And more than likely, you will not be able to do that. So somebody spent $2,300 on this, and it is not going to be buildable unless something is crazy. Yeah, it says possible access issues due to being on M44. Planning to develop, contact the local government on restrictions. More than likely, that's a property that is not going to be usable unless, of course, maybe you're one of the folks that adjoin that land. Maybe a neighbor bought it. It could be worth the money to them. Yeah, looks like a good deal there. We saw that one earlier, 112 grand for this house. 0.04. Luckily, nobody bid on this one. Here's a parcel that has access issues, but it's 3 acres for $5,800. Again, if you didn't really look into this, $5,800 for 3 acres sounds like a screaming deal. But if you look at this map, the GIS that they have posted for us, you can see that they have no access to this property. Now, with that said, you do have 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people that adjoin this property. So if you're one of these landowners, you're this guy right here, and you can attach 3 acres to your property for $5,800, yeah, by all means, do it all day long. But if you are not one of these adjoining landowners, you probably don't want to purchase that property. Let's do one more in this county. Cell tower. That could be a phenomenal deal depending on lease issues and whatnot. Small lot, $600. Nobody bought that, luckily. Looks like that's going to be about. Oh, here's a little tiny piece. I don't think we've done this one yet. This is 0.03 acres, and not only is it tiny, too small to build on, but it also looks like it is I-96. Looks like it's maybe on an off-ramp or an on-ramp or something. This is just one of those issues where they had a surveying error a long, long time ago. This little triangle piece was left over. Somebody paid $600 for it. Again, it's not worth the $4 tax bill that they're going to pay unless you happen to own this house right in front of it. All right, let's look at another county here and see if we can find some more red flags for properties that should not have been purchased. All right, we'll go down. We'll take a look at Grand Traverse. See if there's anything there that stands out. Older wood frame, $96,000. That's a fractional interest. Looks like a newer property. Don't really want to dive. It could or could not be a deal. I don't know. Don't want to dive into that one right now. Mobile home, nice house, $46,000, needs rehab. Not too bad. Older wood frame and outbuildings. Yeah, everything looks decent there. Nothing really stands out right off the bat. Let's see. Let's do Mason County. See if anything stands out here that should not have been purchased. And of course, we're not looking at valuations and stuff like this lot for $3,000. You know, if it's worth $1,000 or $100,000, I don't know. We're not looking at values and stuff. We're just looking at major red flags that stick out to me, just kind of at the glance. I don't see anything here. This one did not sell, has performance bond and demolition required. Some people do, or some counties do require you to demolish stuff. And before you buy it, you have to actually show them a performance bond. So keep an eye out for that, but nothing really stands out there. Let's look, let's do Branch County and see what we have here. All right, we've got nothing really stands out there either. Looks like those are probably deals. I don't know if they're good deals, bad deals, but they are properties that you would consider purchasing. Let's do Jackson County and see what we got here. We got a nice waterfront lot. It looks like right here on 10 grand. That's pretty cool. 20 acres for 165 with a house on it. That's nice. Scroll down. 0.2 acres, $1,400. A commercial structure for $100K. Just looking at this, nothing stands out yet. A massive commercial building, looks super old and needs some work, I'm certain. $6,800. Old mobile home park, 105. I did a video not on this one, but on one in Genesee County not too long ago. You might want to check out if you're interested in mobile home parks and whether they're good deals or bad deals. The one in Genesee was not. I'm not going to look at this one today. We're scrolling down. We're looking for, this guy's got a lot of stuff that could become an issue, but not horrible. 0.08 acres that might or might not be buildable depending on this area. Make sure you want to check on that. Here's some site condos. Let's see. A site condo basically means, first of all, it has dues and it has regulations that you have to abide by. and it might actually require certain buildings to be built there that you might not have control over. So let's see. There's public property allotted for street use. Homes in areas of 20 years or less has a deed. It exists and it is for sale. But there are issues, it looks like, with this property and with the other ones around it. Let me see if I can pull up the GIS on this property and see what we have. All right, so we got this. Obviously, this road was never cut. Looks like the road stops right there. So somebody would have to put the road in order to access these properties, probably in order to build on them. You know, when you buy a property like this, especially newer properties, they have developmental agreements that state you can't build on these properties until all of the improvements are put in. Maybe that is road paving, maybe it's roads, curbs, gutters, sidewalks. I don't know. That's going to get very expensive for somebody that buys this property. If they want to do all that stuff to put it in, or to be able to build a house. So, but with that saying, if you have the right strategy, and I don't know where all these lots are. Looks like they're side by side. Lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11 and 12. I don't know. If you have 12 lots and you're able to pick them up for anywhere from $2,600 to $950, if you did do that and you were able to put a road in, you could, and I don't know what the lots in that area you're selling for, but there's a potential that you could kind of monopolize that area by buying all this stuff, put your own road in, finish it out yourself. Meet the obligations of the original developer, and then you could sell the lots or develop or whatever you want to. There's that possibility. But if you're just this guy right here that buys this one lot for $1,100 and they're all bought by different people, it's probably a bad deal. Let's scroll down a little bit. See what we have here. Nothing else sticks out to me too much. There's that 0.10 acres that we talked about earlier that might or might not be buildable. Commercial lot, they would have to have offsite drainage, water, sewer, all that good stuff. It takes a little bit of research to figure that out. Generally, 10th of an acre is going to be a very small building, though, if you are able to build on it. Let's move on to another county. Let's do Bay County, see if there's anything in there. We got large historical building. We got properties that have sold, 0.8 acres, 1.9, 1.5. Here's some site condos that did not sell. They probably have dues, and they probably are not worth as much as the minimum bid was. A lot of these areas that have site condos, have a lot of site condos. I'm not familiar with these specifically, but they might be selling on the open market for $2 or $3 grand, and you don't want to spend $3 grand at a tax sale, right? Just scrolling down, see anything else here. I don't really see much that stands out. 0.11 acres might be too small to build. It might be this guy's side yard, or it might be buildable. I don't know. You have to look at the regs in that county. All right, let's scroll down. Let's look at St. Clair. That's Port Huron area, I believe. See what we have there. All right, just going through this. 17-foot wide parcel. $900. Somebody thought they've got a screaming deal on this one. Yeah, see northwesterly 1,700 feet, or northwesterly 17 feet of lot 2. And this is 17 by 130. So this is, if you want to learn how to read legal descriptions really fast, the first part of legal, or the primary part, is lot 2, assessor's plat of the addition of Dow addition to the city of Marysville, Michigan. But you have this qualifier here, which is the northwesternly 17 feet of lot 2, and the southwesterly 137 feet. So right there, 17 feet wide or long, however you want to look at it. Just looking at that commercial lot or industrial lot, 17 feet, there ain't much you can do with that property. I mean, it's just, look at that little sliver. I mean, you go over this guy's parking lot, and it's probably in some sort of easement or something along those lines. So you don't have much of an issue with it. So let's see. It says possible encroachment on parking lot. This is one of those things where it would be a good purchase for the parking lot owner. Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those things where people purchase. They're like, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put a fence up and I'm gonna block this guy's parking lot. All that does typically is land people in lawsuits, and eventually you're paying an attorney tens of thousands of dollars to defend yourself, and it's a mess for everybody. $900. I'm not gonna buy that mess. Okay. All right. Let's move on to another county here. Let's look at the eastern UP in Chippewa County, I believe it is. See what we got here. We got an old motel for $105K. It looks pretty cool. 4.2 acres on the Mackinac Trail. Quarter acre. Let's see, former funeral home. Yeah, here's an old hotel here that didn't sell. Old hotel did sell. I'm seeing a lot of there's literally 4 hotels in there. That is not I mean, it doesn't exactly scream that people are flocking there for vacation, right? So you might be careful if you do purchase hotels in there. That's kind of out of my wheelhouse. Now, this property here, 0.02 acres with parcel issues. Somebody paid $3,500 for this. Wow. Maybe it's a garage. Maybe they're going to park their car there. Maybe that's their plan. I don't know. More than likely, this garage belongs to this person right here. They're going to be upset at you. Looks like there's no known legal access to the property as well. Might have been able to access it off of an old time alley, it says, but they don't know if the alley's actually okay. So this is, again, it's one of those, it's a problem property. And if you want to learn how to read legals, again, north 28 feet of the east half of this lot. Okay. That's why stuff should stand out for you. And that's why you need to learn how to read legals, because if they didn't provide information, it could become a major issue. We'll look at a few more counties here and we'll wrap up. Let's look at Oakland County, find some properties that should not have been purchased at a tax sale, but somebody did. Got a cool little condo here, 91 grand. Another condo. That's a nice condo actually there for 89. It's a real nice place. All right. So as you can see, I mean, these are properties just kind of catch my attention, right? Like here's another condo, 310 in the Beverly Hills complex. Pretty cool. So there are, there's deals out there. Don't know the value of those things, but there's definitely nice properties to be had. 0.1 acres. Not sure if this is the guy's side yard or if it's actually buildable. Same thing here. Here's properties. Luckily, nobody bid on 1 foot strip, 4 foot strip. I'm just kind of going down. Looks like there's a property right there, fire damage. Nobody bid on that property. Landlocked property. Nobody bid on it. That's good. Good. Looks like people behaved pretty well in this county. Yeah, 500 square foot vacant parcel. Looks like a parking area, access issues. There's a lot of properties here that are junk that people did not bid on. That's good to see because it means people educated themselves. Here's a parking lot right here. Nice deer. Let's see. Yeah, just scrolling down. I don't know what the size is to build there. I'm hoping it's more than a tenth of an acre, or it's a tenth of an acre or more. And these are fine lots. Otherwise, this 0.07, that's a very small property. Maybe you can build there. I don't know. You have to look at the regs. Again, I'm just going off the obvious stuff today. Let's see. Single story for 61. That's pretty cool. Looks like a good deal. 281 for that house seems kind of pricey, but I don't know that area. Maybe it's a good deal. I don't know. Yeah, so everything looks decent here. Looks like people pretty much behave themselves. Let's see. Good. Nobody bought that one. All right. Here's that condo that sold for $310. I'm not saying they should or should not have purchased it, but it is a nice tax sale property. No obvious signs. I'm just kind of curious myself. Looks like a nice place here. Yeah, I got an attached garage in the back. Yeah, looks like a nice place. That's a property that does look decent. All right, let's go to another county here. Let's see. Let's go to Berry County. And we'll look at Berry County and the Berry County Department of Natural Resources auction as well, which Title Check now handles. Some of theirs, 12 acres. Nobody bid on that one. Nobody bid on that one. Okay, so that doesn't really matter. All right, so we got 6 acres for 55 grand, 11 acres for 29. Just looking at these again, I don't see anything that really stands out. This one's on the river, might have some access issues. Let's pull that one up. Just looking at this property, this might have. It is on the river, which is really cool, but and there's an airport, a runway right there. So this is probably county-owned property here. This might be county-owned property as well. So accessing this property might be difficult. I don't see any sort of legal access. Now, the guy might have had a strategy. He might own this property here, maybe across the river. There might be some sort of strategy behind this that I am not privy to. Looks like, yeah, unable to find road access. It's possible there's an easement. We cannot guarantee it. Do your homework. Adjacent landowners, yeah, of course. So yeah, but if you are an adjacent landowner, you got what's it, 11 acres? I think it's all, yeah, 11 acres on the river for 30 grand. A great deal. Otherwise, you're gonna have a heck of a time getting to the property you just purchased, unless there is an easement somewhere. Now let's scroll down. We'll do a couple more counties. Let's look at Antrim County to see if there's any obvious duds that you should not have purchased, or the person here should not have purchased. Let's see what we got. All right, we got 0.91 acres. Obviously, this is a property that you cannot get to. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They do provide these photos and stuff like this. Unless you're this guy or this guy, which might be a large parcel, or this guy, and you add to your property. If you just buy this and you're just a guy that doesn't own an adjacent property, it's probably going to be a waste of money. $3,100 for 0.9 acres. Some people do try to buy this stuff and then force it to work. And get this, a lot of people will try to buy this stuff and then sell it to this guy or sell it to this person or this person. And if that doesn't work out, they're probably still going to be using that property anyhow to walk on or to take care of or claim as their own regardless. They know that property more often than not went to a tax sale. So don't try to force your investment. Just buy something that is decent. All right, Lakes of the North, they have an association. We're not going to get into that. That property had access issues. Lakes of the North has a massive association. You can make money in there. I actually did a video not too long ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, on Lakes of the North and other subdivisions that are similar to Lakes of the North, where you can get these lots for very cheap. I believe now they're selling it like $100 opening bid at the no reserve auction. And you can make money with these with a very specific strategy. You actually make a lot of money with these. And I shared a video in the Tax Sale HQ in our forum for all of our members. So if you're a member of Tax Sale HQ, make sure you take a look at that, because these lots can be gold mines if you know what you're doing. If not, you're just buying yourself a large HOA fee every single month. All right, let's move on to another county. Let's see. We're getting close to the end. We'll do Saginaw, and then we'll do Genesee, and then we will wrap this up. I try to do these hands-on type trainings just so people kind of know what's going through my mind and know what to look for. Let's see, in their own, in their own businesses and stuff. So don't see anything right here, right off the bat, that says it's a major issue. Obviously, there's some properties in bad condition and that kind of stuff. You always get those at tax sales. Nothing new. Old restaurant. That's pretty cool. A lot of cool stuff we've come across today. What's that? An old church there, old building. That's an old house in pretty poor condition. 0.12 acres. That's probably not buildable. Maybe you want to check on it though and see. House is coming out. Same thing. 0.08 acres. Probably not buildable, but maybe want to check on it. And maybe if it was, good for you. $800. Just scrolling through here, see what else we see. Just trying to find stuff that stands out right off the bat. This is interesting. A 1/2 interest in a property. You see this from time to time. This can be a nightmare. Undivided 1/2 interest in lot 55. So what this is, you own half of that with a stranger. Now, obviously, if you own the other half interest, now you have a full interest. You can make it work there. That's fantastic. Good for you. But if you own half an interest, how are you going to get your money out of that property? Well, the only way to get your money out is to force a partition sale, which again involves very lengthy and expensive court proceedings. So the attorney that is handling that for you is going to make substantially more money than you would make buying this property, if you make anything at all. So half interest appears to be utilized for parking. Do your research. So that's a property you probably don't want to purchase unless you've got some sort of very, very specific strategy that you are very experienced in, or if you own the other 1/2 interest. All right, we're going to scroll down, see what else we've got. We got a lot of properties here. Don't know anything. There's obviously conditions. Saginaw they do have code enforcement officers. You need to make sure you make them happy. Otherwise, you will get citation after citation. 1/2 story home. All right, let's do one more. We'll do Genesee, and then we will wrap it up. for today. All right, we got the Genesee's auction. Let's see what we got here. That should not have been purchased. And by the way, guys, again, obviously there is a lot of properties that we've gone through today that were fantastic deals that, people are going to make a lot of money off of today. But I'm just today going after the properties that probably should not have been purchased, pointing out the obvious signs. Vacant site condos, those are, again, I'll pull this up for you. Looks like there's two side by side, so maybe you purchase both these. You could probably figure out a way to make it work. But when they developed this property, the developer that developed it had a developer's agreement, which could stipulate what they did. You can't just go there and buy this and build, a house or put a single wide trailer or something there. You have to build it likely to match this property right here across the street. And whether you want to do that or not, that's going to be a lot of effort, a lot of work. So $1,500 for that. Maybe if it's a builder, or maybe it's somebody that knows about this development and knows how to build those types of houses, or is prepared to build that type of houses, or contract with a builder, whatever it is. You can make it work, but again, you're really trying to force an investment at that point. This is the mobile home park we did a video on a few weeks ago. That is a disaster. Even if you get it at the opening bid for the which I think is like $1,000 or something, the no reserve auction. Here's a parcel somebody probably shouldn't have purchased. Yeah, this is a I don't even know what this is. I don't. Maybe it's an old easement, something. Maybe it was the start of an alley or something. You got a commercial building right here. Maybe it's a drainage easement, something along those lines, I'm guessing. But as far as actual usability, there's not much usability there. Too small, a result of a survey error. Yes. But nonetheless, somebody paid $1,100 for this thing that they shouldn't have paid for that, more than likely. Let's scroll down and find some more duds that people should not have purchased, but they got click happy and they did purchase. Luckily, nobody purchased that because it's landlocked. No, this is a property that looks like it has legal access, but no physical access because the road was not put in place. Let's see. That's an interesting property, 32 acres, commercial, 330. That's probably a good deal. Here's more vacant site condos. I don't know anything about this development at all, but this is, hopefully that person that bought it has some good plans for it. Because if not, if they just plan on holding it, they're going to start paying assessments and dues and everything else, and they don't have any use or any say of what they can use the property for besides what the county requires. Keep scrolling down here. We got these little vacant lots, $400, $400, $600. Now you got to make sure that the city doesn't have any stipulations on what you can and can't build there. It looks like most of these lots in the area are about the same size. And I would assume they were buildable at one time. Whether you can still build or not, check with the city. All right, we're going to scroll down. Got a garage here for sale. Scroll down, a lot of houses, some vacant stuff here and there, commercial properties. Got a lot of properties that have sold. Let's see if we can find one more before we wrap up. We got looks like a restaurant right there in the middle. Didn't sell. Let's see. Scroll down some more, and we got an old commercial building that didn't sell. We got some properties down here that didn't sell. Here's a property with access issues that did not sell. Luckily, nobody bought it. Again, site condos. Perhaps buy both of these, build this building right here. You can make some money. Otherwise, you're kind of limited to what you can use that property for. Here's a piece of property that looks like it fronts a road. This property looks like it fronts a road as well, so we won't dig into those too much. Scroll down. A lot of these properties have decent usage. A lot here, a lot there. Let's look at this one for $6,100 just to confirm. Yeah, so it does looks like it's in Burton. Based on the photo alone, it looks like you do have access right there. Hopefully. Yeah, so Let's see. That might or might not have been a good deal. I don't know what the value is of the property in there. So, but yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Hopefully you got a lot out of this video today. There's a lot of properties that we see at tax sales that are great deals, right? Somebody's going to make a lot of money on the properties we just scrolled through today. And then there's the properties that we see at tax sales that probably should have never been purchased. People that invested in them, some of them might have a very specific use and a very specific way or strategy to make money, or maybe the property adjoins a property they already own or something like that. But a lot of the properties we saw today, I would say probably 98% of those properties, the folks that bought those should not have purchased them. They just didn't go through the proper research and due diligence for those properties. And they just started placing bids, and they got properties that they're going to end up back at the tax sale, or they'll just pay taxes on forever and won't have much of a use out of. So hopefully you learned some stuff. There's a lot of red flags that we went over today, and hopefully you can put that into your tax sale research so you don't end up like some of those folks and buy properties that you shouldn't have. For more information on tax sale investing, make sure you check us out at taxsaleacademy.com. Or if you're just looking to connect with a lot of fantastic and super supportive investors, go to taxselhq.com. It's our community. There's a lot of great people in there. I do a lot of trainings in there, like we talked about earlier with the, I think it was Lakes of the North Association, how to profit with lots like that. A lot of specialized trainings that we put inside of Tax Sale HQ. Hey, we'll see you next time, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.